Hello everyone, and welcome to another video where today we'll be inside because it's incredibly hot out. In fact, considering how hot it is, I'd love a refreshing drink. And what's more refreshing than some nice homemade lemonade? Now, there are plenty of ways to make a nice, cool, refreshing lemonade, and many of them are incredibly easy to do. This recipe that I'm going to show you today is not one of those. For a nice, quick lemonade, all you have to do is get some lemon juice, sweeten it up with some sugar, dilute it with water, add ice, and there you go. A nice, quick, easy lemonade. But what if you wanted something a little better? Well, then you'll need a recipe that's quite a bit more involved. Alright, so for this recipe, you're going to need something to boil water in. I'm just using a mug here because I intend to microwave it. The quickest way. You could also just boil it in a pot on the stove. A lot of people have water boilers. Whichever way suits you best. You're going to need a knife, ideally a paring knife. Other knives will work, but this one gets the job done the best. You'll need a mortar and pestle. You could probably get away with just using a bowl and a spoon, but this does the job the best. And you'll need something to juice the lemons. You could do this just with your hands, but this does it the best, in my opinion. And you'll need something to put the lemon peel on. You could just use a paper plate. You're not actually chopping on this, so you basically just need some surface to put all the lemon peel on. Oh, and also, almost forgot, you're going to need a fine mesh strainer like this. Alright, so apologies if other stuff is in the shot, and apologies if I sort of move my head. I'm trying not to, but it's kind of weird doing this with a camera on my head. Anyway, first things first, already washed these lemons, so that's taken care of, but since we're using the peel, we do need to remove some of this gunk and black stuff and whatever. So, if you can get it off just by cutting or scraping, that's perfect. Honestly, I don't really care about it that much. You can use the side of the knife like this to do it. Get the black gunk off. It's only on this one. I don't even know what it is. And to be honest, could probably just leave it. But just get it off if it bothers you. And whatever this is, take this off as well. You also could probably use a grater to zest the lemons that way, but I prefer to do it with the knife. Low tech, and also gets, I believe, the most out of each lemon. Just take this and throw it away. Alright, so now the next thing. Now, if you're using a knife, you'll have to have a very good grip on it. And if you're not really familiar with using knives, this might be a little weird, so you might actually want to use a grater. But what you want to do is take your knife and just carve the peel off the lemon. Now notice I am cutting towards myself, but I'm moving the lemon instead. The knife is really only moving a very little bit. So it's not, even if I hold it like this, it's not actually moving in my hand all that much. It's just pivoting. So there's really no risk of cutting yourself like this. And you'll notice the lemon has barely any white on it. Now, that is considered acceptable, but if you do make a little too thick of a cut here, so you see that one has way too much white on it. The pith, which is this white stuff, is bitter. You do want to get most of that out, but what you can do to get it off to correct is hold the knife down. See, it's bending, flexing, and hold it like this and just wiggle it side to side gently toward yourself. Now you want to be very careful about this because you don't want to cut yourself, but you notice if I'm moving sort of very slowly and just moving the knife back and forth, I'm not really at much risk of cutting myself simply because there's not that much motion. I'm not making any very abrupt cuts toward myself, which would be bad. You'd end up cutting yourself that way. But if you just gently do this, you'll get most of it off. If you do end up having to correct and take the pith off this way, you're going to end up without some... Yeah, you're gonna lose some of this peel. But it's best to get this off if you can see it. A little bit showing's not bad, but any big spots should be removed. Also, I've noticed a lot of times you might strike your hand, but you're not really... Like, this isn't enough to cut you. If you were really hard and going this way, you would, but just if it taps your finger, it's no big deal. So just to show you guys again what I'm doing, keeping the knife just on the pith basically, and shaving off the peel. This takes a bit of time, but the more you do it, the more practiced you are, the better you become, and you can take it off relatively quickly. Still does take some time, so I'm not going to show the entire thing, but, you know, you guys get the idea. And if you aren't so great the first time, if you have to, you know, go over like this, or you have to take little chunks here and there, you know, you're learning. So I'm going to peel these 2 lemons, and then we'll move on to the next step, because this step does take about 10 minutes. I don't think you want to see 10 minutes of a guy peeling a lemon. All that said, if you're not confident and you don't want to cut towards yourself, you can always try to go around like this, slowly but surely taking the peel off. And also, let me just grab a borderline piece right here. You can also cut away from yourself like this. I personally don't think you're at much risk, but, you know, it's all about confidence. If you're not confident with a knife, then maybe you want to resort to a method that doesn't put your hand in the potential path of a knife. Alright, now the first lemon was peeled. Without the camera on my head, that didn't take me long at all, maybe 2 to 5 minutes. But you'll notice there's very little peel left on the lemon. It's almost 50%, you know, pure white pith, I'd say. And this is what I'd say the acceptable amount of pith on the pieces of lemon peel. Now, I know I'm going to hear, they're still white on those lemons, it's going to taste bitter. You're diluting this anyway, and trust me, I didn't taste any bitterness in the final product. And 2, I know I'm going to hear, you're cutting towards yourself, you're going to hurt yourself. Trust me, you're really only pivoting the knife. If your knife is sharp, there should be no issue. And also, I think there's more of a chance you're going to hurt yourself trying to use a method that's safe, like a grater, because graters can still hurt you, and if you are laboring under the misapprehension that you're safe, you probably have more of a chance to hurt yourself, especially if you have a dull grater and you're really struggling with it. As long as you're just working slowly, moving carefully with the knife, and have a good grip on it, and aren't really pushing it when it doesn't want to move, you have very little chance of actually hurting yourself. Believe me, this still can hurt you, but if you're treating it with care and you are aware of the danger, the risk you're going to seriously hurt yourself is minor. So that's all the lemon peel. Now this is actually quite a bit of peel, and that's why I like this method. You get quite a lot of this, which is actually the primary source of flavor from lemons. Lemon juice doesn't actually have that much lemon flavor. So the next step is to get all of this in the mortar and pestle. And after you get the lemon peel in, next step is to start adding the sugar. Now I'd actually say, you know, you're going to use quite a bit of sugar for this recipe because the final product's going to be diluted, and it's actually best to add a good chunk of it here. I'd say as much as you feel comfortable with adding here, because what this sugar is going to do is it's going to draw the oil out of the lemon peel. You'll see what I mean in a second. And, well, first things first, you just want to get it all mixed up good. Not really pressing too much at this point, just get it all intimately mixed with the sugar. And once it's mixed like this, you're just going to leave it in here until the sugar starts drawing the oil out of the lemon peel. And after that's done, all you need to do is cut the lemons in half and juice them. Now, at this point, you don't need to worry if there are any seeds in the juice, because we have to run this through a strainer anyway, and might as well run this through while we're at it. Now, it's been a few minutes, and you can already see how the sugar has drawn quite a bit of liquid out of those lemons. Now, it's up to you how much time and effort you want to put into this stage. You can add more sugar, you can pound these a little bit, give them more time. It's up to you. I'd say give them at least a little crushing after 10 minutes, and maybe add sugar if you completely run out of sugar and it's all liquid. But it's really up to you. Experiment with it a little bit. Personally, I'd take it at least this far, where you can see a decent amount of liquid has formed outside of the lemon peel. Also, you'll notice I'm not really giving any specific measurements. This is because, well, you're going to make it to your liking. I'm probably going to dilute it a different amount than you're going to want it diluted. I'm going to want it differently sweet than you will, so I'm not really giving any hard and fast measurements for how sweet, how dilute, or even how many lemons. Maybe you feel like this is such a labor-intensive affair that you're only really going to do it for one lemon just to try it out, or maybe you're making it for a bunch of people to impress them, and you're going to want to use 6 or 7 lemons. So it really depends on what you use and how you like it. On that note, you could even try other types of citrus, like limes, either in combination with this or on their own. Now, once you're satisfied with this step, you're going to take some hot water, doesn't have to be boiling, but it should at least be steaming, I'd say, and put it in to this mixture. Now, you want to do this either with stirring or little by little, not because it's going to do anything bad to this, the mixture at least, but it could crack your bowl if you put too much heat in too quickly. Because I'm holding the camera with one hand, I'll show you the second way. Just put a little in, and then spilled a little there, but of course I am, and stir it, and you'll see all that lemon goodness go out into the liquid. Put in some more. Once it's heated up with the first addition, you should be good to just add the rest. Obviously, you don't want to add so much that the bowl overflows, but you can add quite a bit. Once you've added all the water, I'd say to let it sit for about 5 minutes. This will allow it to cool down and potentially even get more lemon flavor out of those peels. Alright, now once this has sat to your liking, the next step is to pour it through a strainer into ideally whatever you're serving it in, so as to not dirty another bowl. And to get every little bit of sugar and flavor off of those peels, we'll wash them with the lemon juice. Now oftentimes this, due to the pulp, doesn't actually come through very quickly. So to help it along, just move it about, and it should go through just fine. Okay, so this is the concentrated lemonade. You're going to need to dilute this at some point. But if you're doing this the day ahead, I'd say to throw this in the refrigerator and let it cool down that way. As for me, I want lemonade now, so I'm going to dilute this with some ice. So after you cool this down, it's going to get quite hard for sugar to dissolve. So I've added a ladle here so I can stir it quite vigorously. You could also make a simple syrup ahead of time so that you could sweeten it more easily when it's cold. I wouldn't suggest trying to sweeten it perfectly at this point, because you're almost certainly going to over or undershoot the mark. Once you've added the ice and let it cool down a bit, you can taste and adjust. Maybe you want it more dilute, maybe you want it more sweet, that sort of thing. I diluted it down to about this point. I'd say maybe a quart. Yeah, it seems about right. Now, once you're happy with how much this is sweetened and diluted, just throw it in the fridge until you're ready to drink it. But as for me, that's right now, so let me pour some out and show you guys how it looks in the real summer light, because this isn't really doing it justice with the camera. Almost looks kind of fake, doesn't it? It's certainly more yellow than most lemonades, and a bit more cloudy too. That's due to all the lemon oil that's suspended in there. And as for how it tastes, I love it. It's less sour, still sour, but less sour than lemonades that are made with just lemon juice. And I don't know, it's just more refreshing and satisfying to drink. Probably because I spent so much time and effort making it, but I'm sure that'll work for you as well. Anyway, that's all for now. Hope you guys learned something and enjoyed, and hope you guys try this someday soon. See ya.